It's a hard ticket at the movies. Which one will you watch? Let's decide. It's a hard ticket at the movies.
Hey everybody, and welcome back to Hard Ticket, the show where we go to the movies expecting a double feature, only to find that both movies are playing at the exact same time. So, now we've got a hard ticket to choose between the two. I'm Jeff Bogus.
I'm Tristan Moore.
And joining us today, we have a very special guest who we are so excited to have on the show. Say hi, special guest.
Hi, special guest.
Yeah,
she did it.
She did it. Amy, introduce yourself.
My name is Amy Hensarling, and welcome to Hard Ticket.
Nice.
Oh, thank you. I've never been welcomed to my own show. Wait, were you talking to me?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
cool.
Welcome, Jeff, to your own show. And Tristan as well.
It's an honor to be on my own show. Amy, tell us a little bit about what do you do? What is your thing? Because you have your own show.
I do have my own show. It's not as cool as you guys' is, and I don't have double feature.
Stop it.
Stop. I have a podcast called Watch This List, which Tristan has been on and Jeff will be on. Tristan and I did The Last Jedi together, and we also did, I forgot, Tristan, that we did that comfort stuff with the what was that called? The Adventures of Buckaroo?
The Adventures of Buckaroo
Buckaroo
Banzai Across the Eighth Dimension. That is the
Classic.
full title. We also did Scooby-Doo 2, Monsters Unleashed, and Star Trek The Motion Picture, which was, Amy, that was your first Star Trek ever.
It was. And I am like indebted to you for introducing me to actually all three of those things were things I had no prior knowledge about at all. So we had a really good time. So yeah, I'm doing a series now called Psychoanalyze This, which these guys knew about. And then we sort of merged our two creative energies into what is going to be this episode.
Yes.
Yeah, big psychoanalytical edge this week, which is exciting. This is a matchup I think Tristan originally pitched. It was a double blind spot for me. Without further ado, I'm just going to go ahead and hand it over to Tristan to introduce us to option number A so we can get this show on the road.
Yeah, option number A this is our very first Alfred Hitchcock film, which is very special to me and I think a lot of people. It's Vertigo. Came out in 1958. It stars Jimmy Stewart and Kim Novak. And basically the premise of Vertigo is Jimmy Stewart is this detective who has acrophobia. And he gets enlisted by an old colleague from college who's like, hey, my wife believes that she's being possessed by a ghost from the past. I want you to follow her around and figure out if that's actually what's happening so I can see if I should, commit her to a sanatorium or something like that. Over the course of following her, he becomes obsessed with her and falls in love with her, and she him, until she eventually kills herself or seems to kill herself in a staged accident. And as the film winds on, you kind of find out that things aren't exactly what they seem. The woman was in fact an actor, but she returns back to the affections of Jimmy Stewart because he's Jimmy Stewart. Actually, I think we're going to get into why she returns back to him because I think Amy has some thoughts on that. And in the end, there's heights, there's excitement, there's thrills. There is it romance? It's not romance. There's something darker here. So that's Vertigo. It's this, I think, was it 2012, Jeff? You might remember the BFI top films of all time. I think this was the number one top film of all time as ranked by critics, like a very broad range of critics. So for about 10 years, it held that title. It beat Citizen Kane after like a multi-decade run. So it is vaunted. This is a critically acclaimed film, and it is also sort of a tough watch, I think. And Jeff, I'll pass it on to you for option number B.
Yeah, it should be worth saying that we are absolutely discussing spoilers for both of these movies.
Yes.
There's a sort of intrigue, mystery element to them both that is integral in dissecting their themes. So, option number B is a 2014 Studio Ghibli movie, When Marnie Was There. It focuses on a girl about 12 years old. Her name is Anna, who is a bit of a social outcast. She's in the foster care system. She lives with her foster parents in the city. But after an asthma attack, they kind of decide, all right, you're having a tough time. Let's send you off to the country for the summer. You can stay with some extended family of mine. So she shacks up with her aunt and uncle in the country, not by blood, obviously, and sort of explores the countryside, finds an old manor by the water, explores it. It's been abandoned for a while, but at night, she sees a mysterious blonde girl who's living in the mansion, and everything lights up. Turns out maybe there are people living in the mansion. Maybe there aren't. There seems to be some sort of fantastical things going on here. So she makes friends with this mysterious blonde girl, Marnie, and things just kind of go from there. She has to kind of come out of her shell a little bit and figure out, is this girl real? Am I just imagining what's going on here? So
Yeah. What is her strange connection to Marnie?
right, it's a loose sort of plot summation, but yeah, it's not one of the Miyazaki Ghiblis. It's not one of the more well-known Ghiblis, I would say, either. I wasn't aware this was a Studio Ghibli movie until finally sitting down and watching it this past week. So we are putting it up against Vertigo. This is When Marnie Had Vertigo. Now we have got to the portion of the show that Amy is the most excited for. It's our logline portion. And Tristan, I always pass it over to you to kick this little segment off.
Yeah, I'll do the log line first because we'll get Amy's gonna make hers up on the spot, by the way, folks. This is gonna be so impressive.
Pressure.
It took me 12 hours to write this. So
12 hours.
12 minutes.
12 seconds. Will a ghostly blonde from the past cure what ails you? Feminine longing versus masculine obsession. When you've reached your limits, will you be able to come back down, or will it destroy you? All right, Amy. Here we go.
It's kind of bleak. I'm gonna try to lighten this up a little bit.
All right.
Please.
Okay. I feel like I should say this in like a very serious, like radio sort of way. So okay, here we go.
Yes.
Two melancholy introverts who witness tragic accidents develop asthma and dizziness, respectively, and thus cannot function in normal society subsequently, and are then thrown into misadventures that involve high heights and blondes and the occasional old misfit in a rowboat. Also, ghosts.
Oh, boo.
I love
That's
it.
pretty good. All right,
Yeah,
Jeff.
takes you for a ride. Okay. All right. What do I got here? Single protagonist seeks mysterious blonde woman who knows how to disappear. Green flags, caring too much, and a capacity for endless yearning. Do not swipe right if you're nothing more than a projection of the qualities I lack, wrapped in the form of an impossibly idealized partner.
Oh my God. Jeff,
Oh my gosh.
That's
that
your
was,
best one.
That was fantastic, Jeff.
I actually wrote it out in advance this time, so anybody listening can already pick up on a lot of the similarities we're going to get into. Some aesthetic similarities, but also we were talking off mic briefly before recording. Tristan, you kind of identify this matchup as more of an inversion than a comparison.
Yeah. And that's something that we kind of run into with Hard Ticket sometimes. Like, Jeff, we did our War of the Day episode, War of the Worlds and Independence Day. Those films are sort of inversions of each other tonally.
Yeah.
These two films, again, are inversions of one another. I in my log line, I said feminine longing versus masculine obsession, which was, I think, my original pitch to you,
Yeah.
Jeff, and then Amy, when you got on this episode. The core of this film is that there is a ghostly blonde that our two protagonists are sort of drawn to, but the two main characters who are actually being drawn to this person are very different. The way that they handle their longing or obsession, right? Because Anna is very much like, she is a young girl who is socially ostracized. She's sent to the countryside to basically try to cure her asthma and also her social alienation. And she finds belonging in Marnie. And there is sort of like a darker undercurrent to some of their relationship because she gets jealous of Marnie and everything. But over time, she sort of realizes that she needs to let go of Marnie. Versus Scotty, who is an acrophobe. He reluctantly takes this job basically as sort of like a pick-me-up, I guess. He's had this like great trauma where he like let a policeman die and he was dangling from a high height. And he takes on this job just to be like, I'm helping out an old friend and maybe this will kind of get me back into the swing of things. And in so doing, he becomes obsessed with Madeline, who believes that she is Carlotta Valdez, right? Is it Valdez? Is that right?
Yeah.
Who is like this woman from like the 1800s who killed herself and everything. So she thinks that, she's possessed by a ghost. Of course, as it goes on, he finds out that Madeline is not even Madeline, that she's an actor named Judy. And Madeline is the wife of the guy who hires her, and he is like he uses this plot to kill her, and he uses Scotty as a witness for the suicide. So there's like a completely different bend, because after the suicide, Scotty is like obsessed. He does not let go of Madeline. He is taken in by the image of this woman. Whole nother thing, though, that's going on in these two movies are the characters who are like, they're like the characters that the protagonist should be paying attention to, but they're not. And for Vertigo, it's Midge, right? Midge is Scotty's old college friend that he was engaged with at one point. And what was it, like 3 weeks? Is that what they say in the movie?
Small amount of time.
Yeah, some small amount of time. He sort of just like throws it out there, and she gives him like a longing kind of glance. So it clearly still kind of aches within her. But she is like she loves Scotty, maybe for no good reason. But she does love that like he's on this like little adventure, and she wants to be his like intrepid sidekick and everything. She's very motherly towards him. Like he always is like motherly Midge and everything. And she's like later on when he's actually committed into a sanatorium, she's like, mother's here and everything. Versus Anna. And Amy, you were talking in the Discord about how you felt like the little girl who actually does live in Marnie's old house, she's more of the Midge character. And I think that's true, but I also think that Anna's foster mom is a little bit of that Midge character as well, being somebody that is very overbearing and very much cares about Anna, but Anna just kind of pushes away until the end of the film, and she realizes she needs to actually accept her. And the thing that's kind of holding her back from accepting her adopted mother is more within her. So again, we have an inversion. We have a character who fully accepts the love that they deserve and that is being showered on them, versus a character who, I mean, Midge walks out of this movie during the sanatorium sequence. She just walks out, and then it's just Scotty and Judy and the unhappiness that follows from there. So those were like that was a big parallel for me that I was like, I would love to sort of get into this. And I know, Amy, you're doing your Psychoanalyze This sub-series, and I feel like the psychoanalysis in these two characters, not only Scotty and Anna, but also Marnie and Madeline / Judy, I feel like there are so many layers here that I would love to get into. And Midge and Anna's mom. So many layers.
I heard that Marnie took their little girl in. She was determined to never let this child be lonely. Still, she couldn't get over the shock of losing Emily.
Well, how do you know all these things she doesn't?
Her mother told me most of them before she died. I dug out the rest for myself, yeah.
Well, why wouldn't she tell her daughter?
Natural fear. Her grandmother went insane, took her own life. Her blood is in Madeline.
I was going to say before, I think Jeff is going to ask us a question. I can feel it coming. But one thing I was going to say before that moment is that I think also Anna has some Midge, because she's an artist, just like Midge is. And she is a bit on the periphery, where like I feel like Midge is getting her like energy and passion from externals, and so does Anna. And then like Scotty and Marnie are the object of that source that they're trying to pull from in order to turn it into a creative endeavor. So I actually see a lot of parallels with Anna and Midge.
Yeah, I think that's totally fair. There's a lot of like fluidity in the identities of a lot of these characters. I mean, for one, there's like the very obvious Judy, Madeline, Carlotta thing, just these three women that are sort of sliding into one another. But also, I think as Vertigo goes on, Scotty himself becomes like Madeline. He becomes like a ghost that haunts the old places he used to hang out with her in. There's that scene where they're in the stable and Scotty and Madeline are kissing, and she's looking around like, I got to get out of here. I got to go do something. And then later on, when he kisses Judy, they're in the stable again, and he's looking around like, where am I? Like, he becomes the ghost in a way that he is chasing. So there is a lot of fluidity in this narrative. So I think that's definitely a thread that connects these two.
there's fluidity between the two of them. Yes, there's also the way that both Scotty and Anna retreat from the real world into these fantasy world. For Scotty, it is more just a gradual, you feed more into the obsession, the fantasy, and then eventually, like, it overtakes her whole life. Whereas Anna sort of starts on the sidelines of the real world, and she kind of learns how to accept it a little bit more, how to live in it, how to kind of cope with her own internal trauma, inherited trauma of having her parents die, having her grandmother die, and then being sort of, tossed around like she's doesn't really have a home, or she's been forgotten about. She even says she's a little bit bitter at her parents, who she never knew, and she knows she can't fairly be angry at for dying, but at the same time, they did leave her alone in the world. So she's dealing with that. And by the end of the movie, she has made a friend or two. She's a lot more enthusiastic about going back into the real world, going back into the city. And that does not happen for Scotty. Scotty has completely gone off the rails. He no longer, like, his sanatorium, the sanatorium scene and sequence is like basically him removing himself from reality. And from that point on, everything becomes about living in the past, chasing a ghost who turns out actually does still exist. And he has the perfect outlet to become just an obsessive, overbearing partner. Like, the worlds that they live in it's doing something with fantasy. I want to talk a little bit, though, about gender and how that factors into this, because that sort of was your original pitch for this, Tristan, right? And you asked us after we had both watched When Marnie Was There, me and Amy, were you reading this romantically between Marnie and Anna? And I was. I mean, I was in a precocious way. Obviously, there's not a sexual component because they're children. It's like an innocent kind of romance thing, but also there's an intimacy that I think women are more comfortable with traditionally in the roles we have slotted them in society, where they can be, they can touch each other, basically. Whereas men is like, if you touch me, hey man, no homo, like,
yeah, you gotta like punch your friend instead of like,
right,
rub them. Yeah,
right. So you can obviously read When Marnie Was There, at least at the beginning, before you find out who Marnie is. You can read into it that way, but that doesn't necessarily mean like that's what it is exactly. I think it just has a deeper understanding of the complexity of affection. What do we
I was
think?
going to say too that Tristan, your self-professed favorite movie is Persona, right?
Yes.
Okay, so that you can see this in that, right?
Oh, 100%. No, my like 3 favorite movies are Persona, Vertigo, and Mulholland Drive. And they're just a thematic trilogy all the way. And Amy being the psychoanalytic
Your
podcast.
psychoanalyst.
My psychoanalyst. I think I named our group message in Discord free therapy. I feel like you've probably got something to say about that. Because Amy, I think, you should come clean about your opinions about Vertigo right now. So we're all being honest with each other.
I wanted to go on the thread that Jeff was leading, which is that the female relationships that you love Mulholland Drive and Persona, and those are both about like, what's your deal, Tristan?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You are drawn to, this was by your suggestion also.
Yes.
So something is drawing you to stories about women relating. If 2 out of the top 3 are that way, and then this movie is too, I find that very interesting that you're drawn to that personally.
Yeah, I don't know why. I'm hoping that you'll shed some light on that today, Amy. I don't know why. There's just something about like, I think maybe it does tie back into what Jeff is saying about like women are sort of socially conditioned to be allowed to be this sort of intimate with each other, to be like connect with their friends. And not that there isn't like a romantic and erotic undercurrent in movies like Persona and Mulholland Drive, but there is just a general sort of like closeness and a sort of meshing of identities. And I, being just a person, I guess. I mean, like I always like have thought about like what's my role in all of this, in society and in a friendship, in any given relationship, in a family, a community. Where do I fit in? And something about the fluidity of that identity appeals to me. But I also feel great sympathy for these characters. Like I feel great sympathy for characters in Mulholland Drive, like Diane, even though she is, a sort of an evil woman. Like she has her friend killed, her lover killed. And I feel great sympathy for Judy, even though Judy is complicit in a plot to kill, Gavin Elster's wife. I do feel sympathy for them in some ways. And I don't know if like Hitchcock, like in this movie, like the end of this film is Scotty dragging this woman up this tower to make her confront like the scene of her crime. And like people always talk about like Hitchcock's sort of like humiliation thing that he has going on in his films. And I don't know if he has the same sort of like sympathy for these women, but I also don't feel like he's definitely not being like Scotty is like a sympathetic character either. Like he is dark and disturbed. So I don't know exactly where Hitchcock falls on it.
I think he cares about the male having catharsis and having some kind of healing, because Rear Window is very similar to this. And so is The Man Who Knew Too Much. Jimmy Stewart is a jerk in all these movies.
Yeah.
And he's really kind of mean to all of the women that he's around.
Yeah.
And so that I think he's such an ass to Grace Kelly in Rear Window. And it's all in service of him experiencing some kind of healing or some kind of breakthrough. So I feel like if I was going to psychoanalyze Hitchcock, I would say that what he mostly cares about is that the male finds some kind of meaning or release, and that the female is kind of there to make sure that that happens in a creative way.
I agree with that. And I will say though, Vertigo strikes me as a little bit different from like Rear Window, for example. There is no like post-release scene in Vertigo. Like
you don't think he's healed at the end?
It's all climax. It ends on the climax. To me, that's like she falls down and he looks down, and it's like, where the hell do we go from here? We never find out what Scotty does next. Like, does he jump? Does he go back to his regular life? It's like one of those things. It's like, where do you actually go from here? Contrast that with like Rear Window. The end of that film, it's like he's together with Grace Kelly at the end of Rear Window and everything. And there is that release, but also that kind of post-release where we get to sort of relax and be like, okay, it's the falling action, and this is the denouement. And the end of Vertigo is just like climax, boom, we're done. And it's like you don't even get time to breathe with the release. And I think there's something reflexive from Hitchcock there, a sort of reflection on his filmography and being like, there should not be like a proper catharsis for Scotty because he has done this to himself in a lot of ways. Do you agree with that? You're looking around, Amy.
Well, I do think he gets catharsis. What do you think, Jeff?
I think the interesting thing about Vertigo for me, what I was like for the whole third act, I just kept leaning in to my TV. I was like, what? Because the mystery of Vertigo is so unimportant. It's so non-essential. And I think a lot of movies, they're waiting for that third act twist to be like, we got you. This is wild, right? You didn't see this coming. With Vertigo, it's like an afterthought, and we keep following these characters like a year after the mystery unfolds, and we just see what Scotty has become. He's this shell of a man. And there's sort of a perspective flip, because then we start seeing him from Judy's eyes, and she kind of wants him to bully her, I think. Like, she keeps him around. She can't get rid of him. She's just like, she could easily keep lying to him or run away or XYZ, but she decides to go on these dates with him, go to dinner, go dancing. She decides to let him buy her the same clothes that she wore when she was dressing as Madeline, to do her hair the same way. She's resisting it, but it's not too hard to coax her into it. I think she's sort of in love with the life that he wanted to have with her, and so she might be deluding herself into thinking that they can have it now, that the whole plot is over. I was getting some Phantom Thread vibes a little bit from it, and I was certainly getting like Mulholland Drive vibes as well. I was curious what was going to happen, and then Judy dies at the very end, like less than a minute left in the movie. She falls, and the nun's like, ah, crap. And then starts ringing the bell. I don't get a sense of resolution from Scotty's arc, but I also just think, because to me, he just goes deeper and deeper and deeper. I don't think, maybe the resolution there is him piecing the crime back together so he can sort of absolve himself of the guilt that he felt of Madeline's suicide. That's about all I would get from it, because now the potential partner that he has probably once again convinced himself he's in love with has died again. It has happened again. It's happening again. So, like,
Yeah, but there is a line that Midge says early on where she says that, I don't know if she uses the word healing, but she says that they have a discussion where it's like, if you repeat the same thing that happened, you can move on from it.
Yeah,
So I feel like that ending is that statement.
Yeah, I think she says only another emotional shock can cure this
Exactly.
trauma.
So I
right?
actually feel that he's cured and that it's like very anticlimactic. Justice is served, the bad person's punished, he's healed, the end.
He's cured. He's cured of his acrophobia. Like, he is cured because, like, he's able to look down finally.
No,
Like,
but he also has closure about the entire scenario, which most of us don't get in life. We don't get that kind of closure.
the way that Hitchcock is portraying Scotty in the last act, though, is like he sort of destroys that black and white morality. Like, Scotty is no better than Judy. So, bad person gets hers is like, I don't think is exactly what I'm getting from the way that she dies. To me, it felt like an extension of the Hays Code, honestly. That's like, when you commit a crime, you have to be punished for it. But I don't know exactly why because to me, I was like, they can have this twisted relationship and it could be a twisted ending and it's not supposed to be happy, but it's like kind of what they deserve, right? That's what I get from Phantom Thread a little bit, but it does not. It punishes her. To me, I don't think he's like, I think he's more punished than he is like rewarded for solving the crime or anything like that.
I think it's just a really ugly release. Like, we're watching this slow build up the tower, this release, and I think it's ugly. It's scary. Like, Jimmy Stewart in this role is playing so against type, which is one of the great things about this movie, I think. And you're watching this otherwise wholesome man just act like a creep and drag this woman up these stairs. And, is there some justice in the fact that Judy, dies? I guess, because she does play a role in Madeline's actual death. But I don't feel like Scotty, like, he's just left with nothing at the end. You feel like he still does want that ghost, and he just sort of is looking off in disbelief at the end. Like, he doesn't smile. Like, he doesn't smile at the end. He's like, oh, she's dead.
It's like a
God.
Birdman ending where he looks up and it all is clear. No,
it's like post-nut clarity, but like, you're like feeling ashamed of yourself like that. No, this movie. Sorry. I'm making Amy laugh so hard right now. This movie.
I've never heard that phrase in my life, and now I'm never going to think about anything else.
Oh,
it is kind of like that, though. It is just like look at because what I was saying about like
I'm so red right now.
Indulging in your fantasy worlds is like, to me, there's the point about, dopamine versus serotonin. The more you do these short-term things, the more obsessed you get with like, substances, drugs, alcohol, or sex, or masturbation, or porn. Like, all of these sort of like tickle the same place in the brain, right? But they take us away from reality. We're looking for short releases over and over and over again. And the post-nut clarity is like, yeah, okay, I decided to ignore everything else in my life and focus on this singular thing. And nothing is that deep. Life should not be so singular. Now what do I do? That kind of feels appropriate.
But that's why I think the ending is a good one, because he has eliminated the obsession. The obsession
He's
is
free.
over. Yes.
Yeah.
And the only thing that could have freed him is that kind of removal of the addiction. Like, the removal of the obsession is what gives him a chance now to actually live his life. And I think he will. I'm not saying he's a good guy.
No.
I don't think he's a good guy at all, but I do think this is the best possible ending for Scotty.
Really? But like, what does Scotty do? Like, you're saying he just goes back to live his life. Like, why doesn't Hitchcock show that? Like, why is there that moment where he's looking off down?
I think he experiences great relief. I think that he's like, okay, I have solved the mystery. I am out of this web. It can't be repeated. Now, when he goes to a restaurant, he's not going to look around for her. She is truly gone. And that is like, if it's a freedom for him as a person, because it's like, it's closed.
Okay.
As long as it's open, it's like,
I don't know. I don't know, because I think this wound that Madeline kind of comes in to fill, Judy comes in to fill, I think in part, like, it's based off his feelings about Midge as well. Because, like, Midge walks out of this movie. Like, in any other, in Rear Window, right? Like, if this were Rear Window, Scotty walks out of that mission. He meets up with Midge. He says, "I'm sorry, Midge, for never acknowledging you. I love you, Midge." And they get together or something. They're having dinner at Ernie's or something like that. You know, like they're doing, there's some that's the resolution, right? That's the
Okay.
That's the release, the actual release. And there is Midge walks
Tristan
out of this
needs
movie.
an epilogue.
Guys, I watched a great movie this past week. It's called When Marnie Was There. And in this movie, I get a great inversion of what's happening in Vertigo. So, Amy, you're talking about like, okay, he's resolved. He's removed the substance from himself and he's not going to be looking around at restaurants for her. The cool thing about When Marnie Was There, right, is that Marnie, we actually haven't said what the twist in When Marnie Was There was. Marnie is Anna's grandmother. And she remembers stories that her grandmother told her when she was so young, like she was still plastic. She still probably didn't have object permanence. I mean, like, but the story stuck with Anna as a child. And then her grandmother passes away and she gets thrown into the foster care system. So she doesn't really remember her grandmother, but those impressions of stories are still there, which is why she's seeing this girl. She doesn't know who she is, but she's compelled. She's drawn towards her. Now, her grandmother passing away eliminates her grandmother from her life, but the impression that her grandmother made is still manifesting throughout her youth. And so when Marnie Was There is kind of saying is that these people that had such a significant impact on your life, that they will stay with you basically forever in ways that you don't even realize.
I think though for Marnie, that's because it was positive.
Mm.
Like I think it's different if we look at this in terms of like obsession, because the further away you get from an obsession, the less that you feel it. Whereas with Marnie, it's going to strengthen over time because it was actually a positive force. That's my opinion anyway. I think with negative things, the longer you abstain from something negative, the less that it's with you. Whereas a positive is the opposite.
Right. Well, then you get into like the ideas of trauma and relapse too, because those are ways where we backslide. And, you know, when you intentionally avoid something that is still sort of a control you're acknowledging it having in your life, right? And so I don't know necessarily if the positive negative impact makes as much of a difference on the impression that you carry with you throughout your life. Now, the nurturing aspect of it, the fact that Marnie was a nurturer in Anna's life, that makes it formative. The affair that Scotty has with Judy, that is something that is a little bit more tumultuous, a little bit more chaotic, less fundamental in his life. So I could see it from that angle. Potentially.
You could also see it from a moral one. I mean, Scotty has absolutely no qualms sleeping with somebody's wife. He has no problem at all, like making out with her, all this stuff. The guy is supposed to be his friend who hired him. He's not only an employee, but his friend. And then he cheats with her very, very willingly, has no issue. So a lot of this is like, I don't know. I see that as so much more. Not that he deserves it because he acts that way, but I am saying there is a difference in the effect that something that's wrong affects your soul and your psyche as opposed to something that is caring and that brings you to yourself.
Yeah, but by design, Judy is also meant to be captivating towards Scotty. So she's sort of meant to have this, like, the character of Madeline, as played by Judy, is manufactured to make a large impact on Scotty. And it does, partially due to aesthetic reasons, though. Like, you know, why do both of these characters choose a mysterious blonde who disappears? Like, is there something universal about like that sort of desire between both men and women? Like, what's going on with that?
Yeah, what's going on, Tristan? Tell us.
Oh, I don't know. Amy, you're blonde. You tell us. I don't know.
What is the allure? I want to, like, as a guy, articulate the allure.
Articulate the allure of a mysterious blonde who, like, when I watch Vertigo, just being plainly honest, I like Midge. I think Midge is great, but she is sort of friendly. and there's sort of like a platonic or even motherly quality to her versus Judy, Madeline, who comes into this film, and she's mysterious, she's seductive. There are layers to sort of unpeel with her, which I think for a lot of guys, it's like the hunt, right? It's like the hard to get, like the game, you want to play the game. And Madeline's playful, and Midge is not. And Midge is also blonde, like it doesn't have to necessarily do with the blonde thing. It is just sort of like the presentation of it all. And I think Scotty is sort of attracted to the idea of Madeline being obsessed with an image and trying to emulate that image. I think because he is obsessed with the image too. And more than the person, like Midge is a person in his life, an actual person that he knows intimately, and he has no interest in her. But Madeline comes along and she's an image. She's this flat affect that he can see. He feels like he can see everything there, and he likes what he sees because it's just flat, and he can possess that. You can't wrap your arms around an entire person, not, metaphorically. There's more there to grasp. And he finds something attractive there. And Marnie is sort of similar in When Marnie Was There, because she is this mysterious stranger who shows up at a mysterious house that was supposed to be abandoned. It's interesting that, Anna first spies Marnie through a window. She sees Marnie first. Marnie does not see her first. There is like this voyeuristic aspect to both these relationships where it's like we get to see them, and because we see them, we feel a certain possession or ownership over them from afar. And then she gets to know her, and there's all the messiness that comes with getting to know somebody, because Marnie is an actual person as opposed to Madeline, who is pretending to be a person. And I think that that's where these films start to divert, is when you get to actually know a person and you're accepting of that, and you are willing to get to know yourself, you're going to get the actual release that you're looking for, which is the acceptance of everybody in your life around you who you've eschewed because, whatever reason, versus Scotty, who is never actually willing to look inward. He's always looking for an answer. He talks all the time in Vertigo about, if I could only find the key, like I could solve this thing. There's an answer for everything, Madeline, say. And that's his thing. He really believes that there is an answer for everything. And when the answer, quote unquote answer, comes in the form of Judy finally dying, which is this really neat kind of wrap up, like you're saying, Amy, to his dilemma, which is that he's obsessed with her. I don't think there is that satisfaction he's actually looking for. He's just looking off in disbelief that this all just happened. Like he led her there, like he brought her to that point, and she's dead. And now it's like nothing. That's just how I read the ending of the film, though. I know, obviously, we've already been over that.
Maybe there's a projection here of like that the only reason that these people, Anna and Scotty, are interested in Marnie and Madeline is a reflection of their, what do I want to say, not having a fixed identity.
Yeah, I think that's probably true.
Like it's an internal thing that's going on that's making them attracted to someone that they feel could like supplement their lack of groundedness or contribute to attributes they don't have.
I think for Anna especially, like she looks at Marnie and she sees this person who is bright and effervescent and social and seems to have everything in life. She looks to Marnie as something to aspire to, which is a difference from Scotty, who I think he's looking more at, I think he is looking to plug a hole in his life. But I think it's more of like it's a sexual hole. It's something like that. He's looking at Madeline as someone to possess versus someone to aspire to. Like, I don't think although again, ironically, he does end up kind of becoming a ghost in his own story after being the one who's been chasing ghosts like this entire time. So through his possession, he ends up being possessed himself, possessed of the ghost of Madeline, who was never even a real actual person. I think that's kind of the big difference between these two. Like Marnie is Anna's grandma. It makes sense for her to aspire to get to know that side of her that she didn't really get to know all that well, except for when she was a little kid and she has those formative memories. Whereas Scotty, again, turn your head, Scotty. Midge is over here. She's in love with you clearly. And she designs underwear. Like that's awesome. What are you guys laughing about?
She also paints.
Yeah, she
does that too. Yeah.
Dearest Scotty, and so you found me. This is the moment that I dreaded and hoped for, wondering what I would say and do if I ever saw you again. I wanted so to see you again just once. Now I'll go and you can give up your search.
Funny. It's kind of like we traded places. How true.
Isn't it crazy that Midge paints her face onto the face of Carlotta? And that
Yeah.
so disturbs Scotty that he has to just leave.
That's why I was going to tell you earlier when you were talking about you were saying something about the females. I was thinking that Rear Window, the part of the reason he doesn't like Grace Kelly is because she's way too available and she's way too into him.
Yes.
And Midge is way too into him. And that's so that's also the inverse of like the femme fatale archetype.
Yeah, you want to chase it. He wants answers, like you're saying, Tristan. He gets them, they don't help. But these movies do provide answers for everything, because as viewers, I think they want to give us a satisfying. I mean, they provide answers. There's still a hefty amount of interpretation you can do, but in terms of the story, like it's pretty straightforward. It's pretty understandable. The most interesting thing is what the characters keep inside their head, what motivates their actions, because that's what we can't see. And Hitchcock and I forget who directs When Marnie Was There, but they both have a good idea of just like not having these characters project how they're feeling all the time. There's a similarity between the heights as well, the towers, the lighthouse, the beacons, that both of these movies have emotional climaxes. And I know, Tristan, we were talking beforehand about the similarity between the two of those. So in When Marnie Was There, it's is it a lighthouse or it's just a tower?
It's a silo.
It's a silo. Yeah, and in Vertigo, it's a church tower. And there's something happening in both of those scenes where a character sort of has a breakdown while they're in the middle, not even at the top, but like sort of in the middle of this height. Why do you think that is a motif in both of these movies?
Well, of course, I got to go back to sex with Vertigo, because I think there's a lot of like phallic imagery in Vertigo, and there's a lot of just this undercurrent of sexual repression and desire. I think what's notable, I love this little detail. Madeline's able to find Scotty's apartment because of Coit Tower, which is this tower that's in the background of Scotty's apartment. Like when the windows open, there's Coit Tower. Coit, coitus. Like it's just like there's
it, Tristan.
Yeah, there's that connection. He's always like, let's go down to the peninsula, and I'm like, peninsula? That's a very phallic shaped piece of land. Amy living in Florida, she's like,
oh my god.
So there is like this, obviously the phallic imagery of it. There's the whole just like the climax and everything of Vertigo. Yeah, again.
Tristan,
what do you want me to say? We're psychoanalyzing. This is
okay. Go for it.
This is
Freudian.
Yeah, Freudian. Exactly. Yeah. So yeah, Scotty gets to the tower, and initially he can't go all the way up. He can't go all the way up.
We've all been there. Yeah.
We've all been there. It happens to men of a certain age. And then at the end of the film, he actually does make Amy's ducking. She's ducking. You can laugh into the mic, Amy. It's okay.
No, I don't like to interrupt.
Well, I appreciate it. And then, at the end of the film, Scotty does make it to the top, and something comes out of the tower, and he's like, oh my God. Oh my God. Midge, I got to call Midge.
You're not going to believe this.
I don't know. You can't really look at the phallic thing in Marnie, I guess. It doesn't really land the same way. I think it is just like a scene of emotional climax, so that's why it's sort of in a tower. But I think what's interesting about Marnie is like they both go into the tower, and really only one of them comes out. At least you see just the one come out by themselves, and it's the same in Vertigo. It's like no one can go into this tower together and come out the same, like with them. It has to be separate. There has to be a separation that occurs at this emotional climax. Like maybe post-nut clarity again. It's like that sort of thing. It's like you're not bonded with this person anymore in this moment of emotional climax. Like you get there, you have it, and then it's like, okay, we go our separate ways. I don't know. There's something significant there. To me personally, like the thing that really stands out in Marnie is the location and like the marsh, and which is like this a place of land and water it's fluid. It very much is an analog to the identities that we're experiencing between Anna and Marty. This sort of like go between, things change, things shift, versus the hills and valleys of San Francisco and the towers and the great architecture. I think sort of representing the peaks and troughs of Vertigo, and how that is a film all about trying to get to the top, or getting down to the peninsula, if you will. But now I'm ready to hand this off to somebody else, and
I just find it insane that like we're recording today, and I just literally released The Lighthouse of like on my
the most
pod.
phallic movie ever
True.
made.
What are the odds of that? That is very strange.
That's what Vertigo's missing. It's a shot of the bell tower, and it's like sideways, and then it just flips up. That's what that film is missing.
Well, I also think that what is not here and what is very present in The Lighthouse is that the light in The Lighthouse actually has great meaning, I think. And there's way more going on with the beam, the supreme beam of that. Whereas here, the lighthouse part, the light part of it has nothing. It has nothing to do with anything.
There is
like
no light.
There's no light. There's no, it's almost perfunctory in a way. Like it's almost like these were just chosen because they're high up.
That makes it. Well, it's like what you're saying, Tristan, with Vertigo being, the landmark is how Madeline finds Scotty's house. I think there's a sense of lostness in When Marnie Was There, because Anna hasn't formed her identity yet, and now she's being compelled towards this other really tantalizing identity. And there's always, when something's high up, you can identify it. It is something you can always return to. It is a beacon, even if there's not a light coming out of it. I think it's funny. I could always identify my grandmother's house by these 3 cell phone towers that are on her property. And you could see them throughout Taze Valley, where I grew up. And I'm like, that's my grandma's house right there. It's something appropriate about that. That's my family. That is structure in my life that I can always come back to. Anna doesn't have that. And she kind of feels like, it's fluid in Marty, but it's like almost slipping through her fingers. She wants something to firmly grasp onto. And by the end of the movie, she gets it. She discovers, evidence that the house she's drawn to was her grandmother's house. There's lots of artifacts. There are tactile things, paper, books. I was very drawn in by the design of When Marnie Was There too. Like all the frills on the pillows and everything. They definitely create just a coziness to it that, you get that from Ghibli movies, which is something I always appreciate from them.
There's also like ascent and descent too. The madness aspect of Vertigo is like going down, going up. I don't know. There's something about that I think that the stairs and the spirally nature of it are just very aesthetically resonant. Like you can feel visually, you're seeing what is happening in someone's mind.
Yes.
So that might also be why that was, besides the fact that he has to have vertigo and thus has to be at height. I think there could also be like, this is a metaphor for a mental state just for the main character. And then for Anna, I think it's because she's a very like romantic, melancholy child, introverted child. And so when she goes into this town, the thing that stands out to her is the thing that isn't ordinary. Like she doesn't talk about the sea. She's like, oh, what is that thing over there? Because that's how she feels. So that is different, I think, where it's just like, what do you notice if you're like a very sensitive child who feels like an outsider? You're going to notice this like thing on a hill somewhere. That's very like if you journal, that's what you're going to see.
Like the swamp house, like it's abandoned. It's an abandoned structure,
right?
And she feels that same sense of isolation. So, yeah, it makes sense. It would be something that like they're like a certain type of person is drawn to an abandoned building. I feel like
exactly.
Buildings are people. I really, I feel that. So that's something that's interesting. I want to briefly take a diversion down Vertigo once more, and I want to talk about a scene, the hotel scene. Not the Empire Hotel, the McKittrick Hotel, which is the old hotel that Scotty follows Madeline to. She walks into this hotel. He watches her walk into this hotel and go up to her room and look out the window. Scotty goes in, questions the attendant. The attendant has not seen anybody come through. She still has the key. She gives him the key. They go up. She's gone. Her car is gone. So she has somehow managed to get into this hotel without the attendant noticing. and she's managed to leave without the attendant or Scotty noticing. And that is something that has always sort of like not bothered me about Vertigo, but like it's like there's something there. Like she's a ghost. Like she actually is a ghost in that scene.
Or maybe they're like in cahoots gaslighting him. It feels like gaslighting. Like oh, the reality that you think you see, that's not true.
You think
maybe the woman's in on it.
You think the woman's in on it?
I think the manager's in on it.
Oh my God, she might be. She might be. But we're never.
Tell him I wasn't here. Tell him I was never here. You don't know what my car looks like.
Yeah, we're never given any sort of indication otherwise. I mean, it's just like he's like, where's her car's gone? And she's like, what car? And it's like,
she's like Obi-Wan. What?
Oh
car?
yeah, that is something that is always like, that has always been on my mind when I watch this movie. I'm like, how did Madeline actually manage to accomplish this, get in and out without anybody noticing?
Pay her off.
Yeah, maybe she did pay her off. But then how did she get out of the house? Like, is there a secret passage? Like, did she jump out the window?
Yeah, window probably.
It makes you wonder.
Yeah, window.
It makes you wonder. I don't know. I always think about that. Because like, what if like Scotty didn't actually see her? Like, what if that was like an apparition that he was watching?
Oh, I see. You're trying to get a little more. Okay, I understand now.
It's possible. You know, it's possible.
I think that's a better reading for someone who loves Mulholland Drive. Like the surreal nature of like, is it a dream? Is it a ghost? Is there any part of the supernatural element that's real? Yeah, sure. It is what you want it to be, Tristan.
Exactly.
There is a surreal nature to Vertigo. Just like there's a fantastical nature to When Marnie Was There. These films they both deal with ghosts. I feel like they're both ghost stories.
Yeah, but like Jeff said, I also feel like they answer every question almost. So, I mean, they're not exactly true mysteries in that way. Like they do explain quite a lot of the goings on in a way where it's like, it's not exactly, what's a good movie where there's like no explanation and it's an experience? I'm blanking out. Well, there's some explanation in Mulholland Drive, right?
Lost Highway.
There is, yeah.
Lost Highway. Oh my God. Sure. Yeah, that's a good example.
Oh my gosh.
Amy
hates all my favorite movies.
Oh, no.
Amy's like, Wall-E, that sucks.
Wall-E is great. Come on.
Okay, there we go.
It's the only Pixar on Criterion.
Yeah, it is.
That's true. Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Tristan,
you got it.
There is a feminine bend towards your top movies there, except for Vertigo. Vertigo is the one where you said Persona and Mulholland Drive, like that's about a relationship between two women and sort of the ethereal nature, all the in between. But Vertigo, caters very much into masculine obsession, like we said at the beginning of this episode.
Yeah.
I think, Tristan, I could kind of speak for both of us and say that, like, we were more raised by our mothers than we were our fathers. And there's something about When Marnie Was There that I really like, which is the way that it feels very in touch with its emotions. It's emotionally intelligent. Not to say that Vertigo isn't. Vertigo is like... That's why my eyes were bugging out when I was watching Vertigo. I was like, it really feels like the way that Scotty unravels, there's like this path that every man can go down where he can let this desire just completely overtake him. Like this is a huge thing in like, red pill circles. It's just like, how do you control women, basically? How do you play mind games? There's this trick that you can pull to get any woman you want. Like this has been a thing for generations. It's always existed. And I think a lot of men, you look at, the incel community and like how they go down this road where they blame basically everybody else for their shortcomings as men. When in reality, if you just like look at emotional intelligence like it isn't a shortcoming, maybe you can pull yourself out of the hole.
For Amy and for the audience, Jeff is currently in grad school studying clavicular. He is studying clavicular, the
Looksmax community. Yeah.
The Looksmax. Amy, do you know what this is?
No, I do not.
I didn't until I started. I coded 270 comments on Monday, and I was just like, it was a very depressing deep dive into this community. But this is true of like high school guys, like they're sort of at that nexus, right?
100%. Yeah, no, I mean, like I went through a phase in my life, to get personal, and I'm sure Amy would love is gonna love
I'm
this.
so excited.
Yeah. Like this is just an excuse for Amy to diagnose
I know.
me.
Yeah.
Like I went through a phase
On
when I
record.
was in like middle and high school where I like, and part of this is just like the hormones, but part of it's like the way guys are socialized and the way that we, like are taught not to be too vulnerable, but also like having like a girlfriend is like the most important thing in your life. Like it feels like that when you're in high school. And like I'd go through phases where like I was intensely jealous and would be possessive and would just generally lack the chill and the understanding that I needed to not be like that. Like I could see like the young parts of me in Scotty, like some of his behavior, like his obsessiveness and his sort of like, you are it for me, like you're my life and I'm just going to attach myself to you. And feeling pity and disgust and revulsion towards those emotions. The goal is to grow out of that or to never even fall into that trap. But obviously, Jeff, like you're saying, like there's like a whole like there are a lot of guys who don't, like they are still in that, and it's encouraged by some other men too. And so I think being attracted to a movie like Vertigo is for me like a way to I guess there is a catharsis for me a little bit to kind of see this man. Like I said, I don't feel like he gets his catharsis really. Like he does get a release, but it's not like a good one. Like it's really kind of ugly. And to see him sort of just stand there like an idiot at the end and just be like, oh my God, she jumped. Like she's gone and I have nothing. Like, what do I even do with my life now? For me, like there's a little bit of there's a relief as a viewer, but also like I'm very disturbed by it also. So
Well, maybe this just hasn't personally happened to you. I mean, I too struggled with vertigo and was at the top of a tower and pushed off my spurned lover. And so now I know how that feels and you just don't. I actually feel in a way really oddly that it is, I do personally understand in some way. And maybe that's where we're like diverging here, because I do actually know what I am maybe projecting myself onto Scotty, the relief of like, oh, I know what happened in this relationship and now it's dead. Like I can put it to rest because I know the truth about it. Like I know its true nature. What was torturing him and what was keeping him stuck was that he didn't know that Judy was Madeline. He didn't know that he was tricked. He didn't know what really happened that day. And so it's like when he could cohesify, whatever the cohesion, like have coherence about the past, he actually was free from it. And so I just feel like I understand that it really isn't the end of the world that Judy died because she wasn't Madeline anyway. That's the thing. He knew once he saw the necklace, he knew that he'd been tricked. He knew that she was not who he thought she was, and she could never be. Why would he want her after that? He wouldn't.
Oh, no, and he doesn't. No, that's true. That's true.
So, yeah, I just don't see it as a loss from his perspective.
I think I just see like, like at the beginning of the film, like the first half, like I do feel like there is sort of a romantic or maybe erotic aspect to it. But I think because the second film recontextualizes it, I don't see his problems as beginning when Madeline actually dies. I think his problem actually stems further back. Just the fact that he would become obsessed with this woman. And like you were saying, Amy, like cheat or,
and he had no like moral wrestling.
Oh yeah. There's no moral like he hasn't reckoned with that. He hasn't reckoned with his obsession with the image. He hasn't reckoned with his, just general obsessiveness. Like I don't think that he gets an answer to the middle of his problem. It's like, you stare into the abyss and it's like you reckon with it and maybe you understand it and feel like you know it a little bit, but it's still there and it's still looking at you. And that's what he's doing in this movie. He's looking literally into the abyss at the end of the film and he's just like, oh my God, there it is. Like, that's the abyss. I can look into it now. Like he does get that at least. He can look into it without being scared, but I don't know.
Well, he'll either do it again or he'll never do it again, right? There's two paths. At this point for him, like he'll either try to recreate the situation again or he'll never do it again. I don't know.
I think there is all kinds of ways to fall into that trap, to fall and to get up top and get vertigo and to be wrapped up in this whirlpool of emotion. Whirlpool, Amy, you just
whirlpool.
Yeah,
yeah.
and
hard word to say.
Yeah, and the beginning of Vertigo is just these whirlpool designs by Saul. Is it Bass or Bass? I actually don't know how to pronounce his last name.
Saul Bass. Oh gosh, he did the opening credits for a movie called Bunny Lake is Missing, and it's the best opening credits I've ever seen. He's so good.
It's so good, and I love the opening of Vertigo. Just this whirlpool. You just get further into it. Like there's no escape out of it.
And that music. I can't do the music, but
do 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 do. I have to say, actually, that Bernard Herrmann score.
It's so good.
I used to watch the Science Channel as a kid, and I would watch The Universe. And anytime that there was a black hole segment on the show, they would play the Vertigo score. So when I first watched Vertigo when I was in like college, I was like, I know this music. It's from The Universe. And Jeff is freaking out right now. He's making fun of me. It's interesting, but a black hole, right? Like that's what Scotty falls into. He falls into a black hole. Well, folks, we've reached the end of Hard Ticket. Amy, thank you so much for guesting on this very special episode of Hard Ticket. It's been a pleasure. It's been a ride. I'm very curious to hear your all's Hard Ticket. This is how we do things here at Hard Ticket. Amy, you have to pick which one you're actually going to pick. Are you gonna go see When Marnie Was There again? Or are you gonna go watch Vertigo again? And I already know your answer. And I don't know Jeff's answer. And so that makes me curious. I feel like Jeff is going to be the tiebreaker because I think it's obvious what I'm going to pick. So, Amy?
When Marnie Was There.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
And you know what? I actually, although like this rewatch of Vertigo made me like the movie less than where I already was, it was enriched by like thematically by your connection, Tristan. So I do appreciate the fact that you combine these. Because I do think that I notice a lot more things in Vertigo that I wouldn't have philosophically. I just don't like the movie because I just don't like the characters very much. And it really messes me up, that part of it. But I did enjoy the process of merging these two together, thinking about them in conjunction. And it was a thoughtful exercise that I appreciated. I really did enjoy the journey, although I would always choose Marnie over Vertigo, and not the Hitchcock Marnie.
The real Hard Ticket was the journey, the friends we made,
friends we made along the way.
Well, I'm glad you did. This was kind of a high concept, but we don't always do matchups that are like this. I think considered
heady.
Sometimes it's just like Nosferatu and Frankenstein, like they're two monster movies, and we dig into it. We do find more thematic similarities, but this was one that I was like, from the start, we're going to have to kind of like get our ducks in a row before we jump into it. So I'm glad it panned out. It was a shot in the dark on my part. I looked up online if there are like other people who've made this connection. Because when I saw When Marnie Was There, it was like, oh, this is like an inversion of Vertigo, 100%.
Yeah.
I've looked up online. There are a couple other people who have made this connection. I don't think they've gone as in-depth as we have. It's mostly just been like, oh, there's a Vertigo shot. There's a tower sequence. There's a ghostly blonde, that sort of thing. And then I think we've kind of gone a little bit more in depth. Hopefully, we're writing the Bible on this connection. I think. So super happy to hear that your viewing was enriched in some way, even though you like the movie a little bit less. Jeffy boy, these you've never seen these two before, so I just genuinely I have no idea which one you're gonna pick.
Yeah, I think I know.
Kudos, Tristan, for this matchup because I thought it was a great double feature, sitting down to watch both of these movies. I thought they really complemented each other very well. Yeah, everything that we've said, everything, Amy, that you just said about When Marnie Was There, I mean, I love it. It's one of those movies that, like, I had this sort of reaction to My Summer with Monica as well, the Ingmar Bergman movie that was like, I feel okay about it for the most part, and then it gets to the end, and the end hits me really hard, and I'm like, oh, wow, like if I had known we were getting to this point, like I probably would have tried to brace myself a little bit better because I got very emotional at the end of When Marnie Was There. Maybe when I call my mom, maybe when I call my grandma. It was just both of their birthdays. They're both spring birthdays, and I don't talk to them enough. So it made me feel very close to them. My hard ticket is going to Vertigo. However, Yeah, yeah. There is a lot going on, and I think I like the relationship that when Marnie was there is exploring better. I like the idea of like that impressionistic memory. The seed is planted, and it starts to grow later in life, and you don't even know why. Like that is such a richly psychoanalytical theme right there. But with Vertigo, I think I appreciate so many of the filmmaking techniques, like the blocking, the sets, the color. It's a gorgeous, gorgeous movie. VistaVision, hey, we're going back to that already. It's our third VistaVision movie, as far as I know. But actually, in the day when it was used, and not just sort of an aesthetic retread. What Vertigo's doing, I like that it is more of a character piece. I like that. I thought it was going to be more of a mystery movie, but it turns out the mystery is like doesn't really, like, it's just kind of there, and you get past it and you're like, oh, what do we do now? And you just kind of focus on this guy who comes apart, and in such a fascinating way. Like, I think there are so many movies that do, like propaganda movies or exceptional individual movies where they're a little bit of an anti-hero, but at the end of the day, you're always supposed to root for them. It is a very simple thing. It doesn't challenge you at all. And Vertigo challenges you. It's like this is the guy you're rooting for, by the way. He's creepy and pushy, and he's got a lot of unresolved stuff that he's putting onto somebody else very obviously right now. I like that. I like James Stewart's performance. I like the chemistry that the two of them had. I'm excited to revisit it. I'm excited to revisit both movies, but I think Vertigo just, there's so much surrounding it that's just like I gotta dig into this one a little bit more, I think.
Awesome. So we have one for Marnie, one for Vertigo,
and one for Vertigo.
I was gonna do a drum roll. Yeah, I'm gonna go with Vertigo, which it wasn't really like a big hard choice for me. I really do love When Marnie Was There, though. Like, this movie, like I said, when I first watched it, I thought of Vertigo, which, to think of one of my favorite movies while watching it, in this case was a compliment. And it's not a Miyazaki film, and Ghibli sort of, and Miyazaki, like, it feels like those two names are just intrinsically connected. And to see one that wasn't by him, and for it to kind of rise above a lot of Miyazaki films, for me, it's not my favorite Ghibli, but it is really far up there. It was really an accomplishment, and I will always go back to When Marnie Was There. I love the tenderness of this story. I didn't really talk as much about the grandma reveal at the end, and it is like a very specific kind of thing. I don't know if I'm at the place in my life where I appreciate it as much as I will. I think one day I'll appreciate it a little bit more. For me, the first time I watched this film, I had to read it as a love story between these two. And I know a lot of other people do as well. And there is a love here, but I was reading it a little more, like, I think romantically. But
like Desert Hearts is what it made me think of. Have you seen that?
I haven't seen Desert Hearts.
Desert Hearts?
No.
Okay. That's a very tender love story between two women. It's kind of in this vibe.
Yeah.
Like, very relaxed. I think the thing for me with Marnie was that they were so young.
Yeah.
It makes you feel a little weird. I can see exactly what you're saying, and it's there, but it's almost like your gut is like, okay, no, they're like 10 or 11. I don't know. There's something about it that there is an innocence there, but also a hesitance. Whereas if they had been adults, oh my gosh, it would have been very different. That part of the read would have been easier for me personally.
That's
to
fair.
kind of go with.
That's 100% fair. I think I might read them as a little. I thought they were like 12, 13.
Are they?
Anna's 12. Yeah.
Okay.
I just know, like, me, like, I was 12. That's when I was like, okay, time to lock in. I like girls, like that. Like, that was just like, for me, that was the age. So but I do think there's some ambiguity there that was sort of touched on. I don't know. I think Japan is a little bit weirder about, like, the LGBT, like, relationships and everything.
Yeah.
So maybe there might have been some, like, we have to make sure that this is clearer at the end. Like, it is very definite that that's her grandma. So there is no.
Well, and also I would say for me, this isn't a gender thing. If it had been a boy and a girl and they had been 11 or 12 or whatever, I still would have felt this way.
Oh, okay.
So I'm not saying it just because it's girls.
Yeah.
I'm saying like feeling like something is romantic or sexual when they're so little. I know that like when we're all 12, we're interested in these things, but there's something icky that like clicks into place for me where I'm like, I can only go so far with this where I'm comfortable. And it's not just because of it was the gender. I think if Marnie had been a boy, I would have still felt like I don't want to feel the way I can in Vertigo because they're adults.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, no, it's not a Vertigo relationship. Thank goodness. Not all the way anyway. So
right.
But yeah, no, like I said, Vertigo gets my heart ticket, and I think I've kind of already explained why it's one of my favorites. And
Tristan, do you like this movie? Is it your favorite Hitchcock, Tristan?
It's my favorite Hitchcock, yeah. Which
okay, I just want to make sure.
Amy made fun of me yesterday. She's like, "What's your favorite Hitchcock?" And I told her, and she said, "Walked right into that one."
I know.
And I'm still thinking about what that's supposed to mean.
Meaning that, like, I was thinking stupidly that you were going to say something else. And you're like, Vertigo. And I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, well, wah, wah. Like, that was like.
Well, okay. Can I say my second favorite is Rear Window? So
that's obvious, too. Yeah.
Okay.
So you just like Jimmy Stewart as a jerk.
I love Jimmy Stewart as a jerk. I do.
I like him as like It's a Wonderful Life and Harvey. Like, I like Jimmy Stewart, like, even though George Bailey is kind of a jerk. Never mind.
Yeah. Well, why do we have to have all these kids, Mary? Who said we had to have all these kids?
Them kids, Mary. Wait, Amy, before we close out, can you do a Jimmy Stewart impression?
I cannot. Oh my god.
Come on. Say Clarence. Like, say Clarence.
What is that line? Harry Bailey went to war. He won the Congressional Medal of Honor.
He's got like marbles in his mouth.
Okay, guys. Well, that has done it for us on this episode of Heart Ticket. Amy, thank you again for joining us. We are already excited to have you back on. Don't know when it's going to be, but sooner than later, I hope. Go ahead and plug your podcast one more time for everybody.
Oh, okay. So the pod is Watch This List, and I think I have the domain now. I've been doing it for 2.5 years, so I have youtube.com/watchthislist. I'm on the 118th episode and doing Psychoanalyze This, also Amy's Progress. It's great, and I love it, and Jeff is going to be on it. And Tristan and I are going to do Persona someday. He just doesn't know it.
I think I'm going to try to get Amy to do Skinamarink instead, but we'll see.
Ooh, that would be so cool. Or we could merge. You know what? I need to do a double feature with both of you, actually. So I'll just like break my one rule, Batman, and have like two each.
I'm going to break my rule tonight.
Are you doing Joker?
You're going to break your one rule.
You want to know how I got these scars, Batman?
He was a fiend.
What else can people expect from Psychoanalyze This, Amy? What else do you have coming up on the horizon?
Oh, right. So Mark and I just recorded for Repulsion, the Polanski film from 1965. And then, let's see, I think the next one is Ethan and I are going to do Spellbound. So that's Hitchcock.
Nice.
I should have plugged that before. Spellbound is kind of Vertigo-ish.
Right, yeah. Nobody miss it. You're not going to want to miss that one, guys. So definitely check out Amy's podcast. It's great. We always enjoy listening to it. Thank you all for listening to us this week. Thank you, Jared Tadlock, for designing our brand elements, keeping our podcasts looking fresh. Thank you, Aaron Griffin, for mixing and mastering our theme song, sung by yours truly in a truly awful falsetto. You can follow the podcast on Instagram and Blue Sky at Hard Ticket Pod, all lowercase, all one word. You can follow me on Letterboxd at Jeff Blogus, all lowercase, all one word. Amy, you're on Letterboxd as well.
Yes, /Unbreak My Heart.
I don't think I ever realized that was your actual handle. I thought it was just Amy Hensarling.
No, it is letterboxd.com /Unbreak My Heart.
Well, fine. I guess if we're going to plug our actual Letterboxd handles, mine is prof with a capital P _physica with a capital P. And my Instagram is at Tristan __less. Hard Ticket Podcast at gmail.com. That is our email. Send us an email. Did you like Amy? Did you like Amy being on the show? Send us an email saying you liked Amy being on the show, and we'll have her on again. If we get one email.
If you get one. And it's going to be my invented Gmail to say Amy rocks.
It'll be Unbroken. Wait, what was it? Unbroken Hearts or what was it?
Oh yeah, Unbreak My Heart.
Unbreak My Heart at Amy at podcast.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
All the identifiers in one
Yes.
Gmail.
Who
That's
could this
great.
be?
Who could this be? 3PO.
Mysterious
Come on,
woman,
Studio.
mysterious blonde from the past.
Mysterious blonde woman.
With a habit of disappearing. Next week, we are going to be following up on our sweepstakes promise from our Oscars marathon. We're having on Aaron Radcliffe from the Head on a Stick podcast, and he is making us cover F1 and Days of Thunder. So we're going to be gearing up for a little night on the racetrack with Aaron. So you don't want to miss that one. But thanks again for listening, guys. Until then, we will see you all at the movies.
See you at the movies.
It's a hard ticket at the movies. Which one will you watch? Let's decide. It's a hard